Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Transformers masterpiece MP-50 Tigertron. Taking a look here at the packaging, you can see that we have some fantastic product shots of both Tigertron in his robot mode as well as of course his beast mode. Taking a look here to the side of the packaging, we have a really awesome image of him in robot mode, and the back of the packaging is by far my favourite aspect of this box, as we have an entire array of different product shots of him in robot mode as well as beast mode. It also showcases the entire plethora of accessories that we do get included with this release, as well as some size comparisons with some previously released Beast Wars MP figures. And then the other side of the packaging just has an image there of Tigertron in his Tiger mode, with the top of the packaging just stating Transformers masterpiece. So without further ado, let's crack this open and see what awaits us inside. And so here we have the MP-50 Tigertron fully opened up and out of the packaging, and in my opinion this figure here turned out really nicely. Now before we take a look at the figure and his included accessories, I first of all want to give you a very quick rundown of the included instruction manual. As per tradition with Tigatron MP releases, the instructions are incredibly detailed, and I absolutely love how they do include some product shots of the figure in some dynamic poses, just so that it gives you some inspiration and just so that you can really learn how to maximize the articulation out of this particular release. You can see that we've got some fantastic action poses of Tigertron in beast mode as well as here for robot mode. I really do love how they add some screen caps as well in order to give an almost backstory for those of us who haven't perhaps watched Beast Wars on what accessories the figure does include. So, and all the instructions are incredibly detailed. We also do get a collector's coin. If you do purchase this figure, you should get this included with all Tigatron MP releases. This one here has just been put in the same generic black MP-50 box that we have seen throughout some of our other MP releases, and when opening it up you do have a die-cast pin which is shaped in the form of the Matrix of Leadership, with Tigertron's head really nicely sculpted in there, Tigatron as well as MP-50. So in my opinion this is a really nice added bonus. In terms of a collector's card, very similar to what we get with other Beast Wars MPs, you can see that the artwork on this I believe is absolutely fantastic, and as we turn it around to the back we once again do have the statistics here for Tigertron, and he does rank rather high as well, so he's definitely a force to be reckoned with where the Predacons are concerned. And as we take a look there, we once again have some really nice product shots. Taking a look here at the figure, I'll very quickly give you a rundown of some of the accessories. So the figure does come with a plethora of interchangeable faceplates. I was not expecting to get this many different faceplates with this particular release, but you can see that we have so many different expressions. This one here to me looks as if though perhaps his robot mode face is snarling. We also do get a little bit more of a neutral expression. We also do get included this almost hibernation face that Tigertron does have when he is trying to hack and locate the golden disc, which I think is a really nice inclusion and goes lovely with another included accessory. We also do get two other alternate faces. This one here looks a little bit more menacing, and this one here is either him growling or perhaps scared. I think that the faceplates on these really are tremendous. An accessory which goes really nicely with this alternate faceplate is the hacking device. Now this is the hacking device that Tigertron uses in order to locate the golden disc, which in my opinion is absolutely fantastic, and you can see that the paintwork as well as the detailing on both the end of the cord as well as the piece that pegs into Tigertron's head I believe has come out really nicely, and we have got this almost purple hue to the transparent flexible plastic, which once again looks fantastic. Also included to go along with some of the other hacking accessories is the puzzle Megatron head. Now for those of you who recall, this was the head that Tigertron I believe had to decipher in order to break down one of the security walls, and you can see there that the detailing on this Megatron head has come out really nicely. This is just as detailed as the head that we actually do get on the MP Megatron. You can see that we've got some really nice detailing there where the eyes are concerned, and the actual head itself does hinge around, so you can see that we have these two hinge joints on the side, so you can really maneuver this around in whatever way you so desire. I would have maybe had liked it if they would have gone the extra mile to actually incorporate more hinge joints, so this really could be very accurate to the show. However, in terms of its scale, I think that this here is more than adequate for what we see in the show, and it's a really nice added bonus for Tigertron just to hold when on display. We do also get Tigertron's missile pods, and there is some controversy surrounding these in regards to the quality of the plastic. However, I'll touch more on that once we get into robot mode. I believe the sculpt work as well as the paintwork on these once again have also come out really nicely, and we do also get this adapter piece for you to utilize when Tigertron is in beast mode, so that you can add it onto either the Black Arachnia stand or even the MP Dinobot stand. And the final and possibly the best accessory that he comes with is his gut gun. This is very similar in terms of its design to that of Cheetah, of which I'll bring out a comparison with later on in the review. You can see here that the sculpt work on this I believe has come out really nicely, as well as the paintwork. However, once again we'll touch more on this once we get the figure into robot mode, and before we transform him I'll also show you how you can actually insert insert this into the Tiger mode in order to conceal it for Beast mode. And so now, turning to the main event himself, here we have Tigertron, and for the most part, I believe that Tigatron have done a really nice job in capturing his beast form from the Beast Wars animation. From the front, this figure here looks almost perfect. The head sculpt, in my opinion, looks beautiful. You can see that we do have all of the tiger stripes throughout him, which in my opinion is incredibly animation accurate. They have also used a very similar material to what we saw on Cheetor in order to replicate Tigertron's whiskers, which in my opinion just adds to the extra layer of authenticity to this character. You can see that all of the teeth in there have been sculpted and painted really nicely, and they have also really nicely painted the gums in there. The jaw is indeed articulated, so you could have it closed or open. We Maximals must learn how to use our beast mode to our advantage. We also do get these really awesome looking green eyes, and these of course can be reversed when we get him into robot mode, so we can actually have them turning red, or you can utilize that feature here to your advantage and actually get some articulated pupils so that we can get a couple of different looks. It is a little bit more finicky than perhaps I would have liked it, as you really do have to align the eyes up appropriately, otherwise he will look slightly goofy. As you can see that when I did collapse that down there, that has completely covered the iris there. But in terms of paint application there for the irises, I think that they have come out really nicely, and taking a look there at the nose, once again the paint apps and the detailing is really awesome. As we take a look at the Tiger mode from a side-on perspective, I think that they've got the proportions and the anatomy down to a T, and considering this figure transforms, I think for the most part the torso has come out really nicely. You can see that we've got some nice detailing there underneath for the paws, and the paws too have also been painted where the nails are concerned, in all just a really awesome looking release. As we take a look here to the back end of the Tiger mode, this is where I have a few discrepancies in terms of where the robot mode kibble has ended. You can see that this is nowhere near as concealed and as good looking as it appeared from the front. However, I really do believe that if a third party company would come out and create an almost attachment piece here to the back, that could potentially conceal this whole area and really amplify my overall opinions of this. Considering these are the robot mode legs, I think for the most part they have done their best. From this angle, honestly, it doesn't look all that bad whatsoever. The only area of which I have a major criticism with is in regards to where you can see the green highlights there of the robot mode leg protruding here for the Tiger mode. It would have been nice if they could have found a way to utilize this panel here in order to cover that. However, seeing as how complex this figure already is, I really do believe that they have done their utmost best. As we take a look here to the back end of the Tiger mode, I believe that the towel also looks really awesome, very proportionate, and you can see all of the stripes have been applied onto that exceptionally well. So in all, in terms of a Tiger mode, for the most part, I'd say that this figure is possibly 85% accurate to what we see in the show, so definitely a really good job by Tigatron. In terms of articulation, you saw earlier on that the jaw can open and close. We do get a very limited range of motion here for the head, so the head can look up that far down and tilt side to side ever so slightly. His arms here can rotate forwards and backwards. We also do have a hinge joint here due to the robot mode transformation. We also do have a hinge joint here where I believe the knee section of the actual tiger leg would be. And then finally turning here to the feet, these two can swivel as well as pivot forwards and backwards. Turning here to these back legs, we do get a rotation forwards and backwards as well as a hinge joint in and out. We can also utilize this hinge joint here as well as utilize this swivel joint here. So in terms of the articulation in regards to the back legs, they are nowhere near as articulated as the front. However, I haven't really found that to be an issue when posing this figure. In terms of the articulation here for the towel, this section here can hinge up and down. We also do get a hinge joint here, as well as a swivel joint. So in all, the articulation here for the beast mode, I believe, has turned out really nicely. And so now, turning to the transformation here for Tigertron, surprisingly, it is nowhere near as complex as I initially suspected. Of course, as this is a masterpiece figure, there is certainly a level of complexity which is superior to that of some of our mass release figures. However, it is nowhere near as difficult, in my opinion, as the likes of perhaps the MP Optimus Prime. So to begin with, you're going to want to flip him under to the underside and just hinge these legs out. We're then going to want to take this section and just loosen all of this up and untab this section here, and I will very quickly show you how you can actually store the blaster within this mode. So you can see that we do have a slot and a port here that these sections here will tab into. So you're just going to want to snap these here into place, and the way they have designed this, in my opinion, is really clever. So when you do actually conceal this section here does hide that hollow gap that we saw in Tiger mode, which looks really awesome. But just opening this up once more and removing the gun, you're going to want to take these pieces and just untab those from where the head is and angle all of this here out to the side. Of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side. You're then going to want to take the arms here and just lift those up. With that now done, we can turn our attention to this panel, collapse that down, take this section and collapse that down, take this whole section and fold this in, and you can see that we do have a port here that this tab will snap nice and securely into place. So just align all that up appropriately and hinge that out of the way. I will take my time for the transformation for this, as of course this being a masterpiece, I want to be rather delicate with it, and I want to show you the transformation in as much detail as I possibly can. So just snap that into place and then hinge this section down rather carefully and just clip that into place. We can then hinge the arms out here to the sides. I then recommend taking these pieces here and just folding those in there on either side. We can then turn our attention here to the back of the Tiger mode, and you're going to want to detach all of this here from the main body. So you can see that we do have some tabs that will peg into the legs. You're just going to want to loosen all of this up, and then that will allow you to unlock the head. Now you may have noticed that I have opted to actually take the faceplate off of the figure whilst transforming him into Tiger mode. This is something that you don't have to do. However, I do this with all of my MP figures just to reduce the risk of perhaps paint chipping, as of course the face is one of the main areas of robot mode and I really don't want to risk damaging that. With that now done, we can take this entire section here and just lift this over. We can then turn our attention here to the back, and you're just going to want to take this section and fold this down. Take this tiny little tab and just fold this out accordingly, and then this section here will tab into this. So just hinge this up and align that appropriately, clip that nice and securely into place. We can then take the towel here, and you're going to want to hinge this section around and then just fold this up like so. We can then take these pieces, and these are just going to fold really nice and flush along the side. With that now done, we can take the entire waist and rotate it all the way around. We can then take the legs and just hinge these sections here down so that we can take the crutch plate and tab that and snap it nice and securely into place. With that now done, I do like to bring the arms out here to the sides just in order to align them up appropriately for robot mode, to ensure that the screws are facing the back. There are multiple swivel joints here, so you are going to want to be rather cautious in which way you are manipulating the joints. But here for the arms, these are on double hinge joints, so we're going to want to recess those in order to create for a more natural look for robot mode. So we are left with something that looks along the lines of this. Turning our attention here to this side, I recommend actually taking this and moving this out of the way, as when you do manipulate this, there is a potential of this actually rubbing on this section, and you may be able to tell, but there is some green paint that has unfortunately marked this. You can see it here. So I do definitely recommend that you take this and just angle it out ever so slightly so that you don't risk paint chipping the figure. And so what you'll want to do here is take the head and hinge this section forwards, and then it's just a matter of pushing that section in there, and you can see that we do have a tab that will peg into this slot. So just align this up nice and appropriately and tab that into place. You can see that we do have a tab under here that will peg into this slot. So then just take this and secure that in there really nicely. And then just give the head one final tab so that we can ensure that everything is solidified. We can then take the tiger head, and that there will just squish and lock into place where the torso is concerned. Come here to the back, and you can see that we do have a slot here that this tab will peg into. So just snap that in there in order to ensure that you have completely transformed the entire upper torso. We can then turn our attention here to the legs, and you're going to want to split these, take the 5 panels and rotate those around, and they will indeed clip nice and securely into place. Repeat the same process, rotate this section here around. What I then recommend doing is taking this and just angling this here off to the side just to allow for some extra clearance. You're then going to want to pull this section out and then over, and you will feel a slight click. That will then reassure you that it has snapped into its proper configuration. We can then take this section here, rotate this all the way around, and turning our attention here to the back of the legs, you're going to want to take this panel and fold this here all the way up, which will then allow you to fold out the shin guard, and then just rotate that there. Take this panel and once again snap that into place. Turn our attention here to the front. You're going to want to lift the knee pad and snap that into place. Take this here, and of course this here should align up appropriately and clip in. We can then take this and angle this here to the back, and you can see that here we do have a slot that this tab will peg into. So just snap that in there. Ensure that everything is aligned up appropriately. Take the heel spurt here and flip this out to the side. We can then rotate the toe around, and then this paw here will proceed and will snap into place. And with all that being said, here we have one of Tigertron's legs fully transformed. So very simplistic in my opinion, nowhere near as complex as I initially suspected. Of course, the first couple of times that you do this, it will appear as if though it is a major blur of different joints. However, rest assured, everything does have an order in which it should move in, and it does become rather second nature as to where everything should end up. So just pull this piece out and once again, rotate this around to the back. We can then take that and snap that into place. Rotate this section around. This piece here will proceed to come over the top and then we'll flip, and you can see that same tab that this here will peg into, so just snap that in there really nice and securely. Turn here to the front so that we can see what's going on. Lift up the knee pad, take this section, and then this here should shift and snap into place. I would be rather cautious in actually manipulating all of these joints, as I have heard reports of this piece here breaking. I don't believe that the plastic is made out of cheap materials. I do believe that it is perhaps the user applying too much force on an area which should not be bent in a certain way. So if you definitely do feel resistance, I would recommend referring back to the instructions or a video tutorial, and I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to get from A to B with no breakages. Rotate the foot around once again, take the paw here, and just snap that into place. And for the most part, that here is the main body of Tigertron fully transformed. Raising the camera up here to the top, this is where I believe the transformation does become slightly convoluted, and to be honest with you, surprisingly, this is actually the more complex area of the transformation in my opinion. You're going to want to ensure that these pieces here are risen above the shoulders, as you're then going to want to take these and rotate those around. We can then turn our attention here to the back, and you're going to want to straighten this here out, take this section, and of course repeat the same process. So hinge this section down, hinge this around and down, and then with this they're actually going to cross paths, very similar to that of Cheetor. So just align these up appropriately, and you can see that we do have a port here that will peg into a tab on the underside of this. So just align these up and snap those into place. These are more than likely going to untab whilst you manipulate this whole upper region. However, it's just good to get these in an alignment which is near enough complete so that this whole section here is a lot more simplistic. We're then going to want to turn our attention to these pieces. So what I recommend doing is taking this here and reversing that over, so we are left with something that looks like this. Repeat the same process, so you're going to want to rotate this section around, and then with this piece here, this will also rotate around, and then just flip this section here around and snap that into place so that we are left with two halves which look along the lines of this. And you can see that we do have a slot here that this tab will peg into. So once again, just align everything up appropriately. You're more than likely going to want to untab that so that you can get the correct alignment. So just snap that there nice and securely, and of course come to this side and repeat the exact same process. So just tap that in there also. Bring the legs back together and snap those into place. We can then turn our attention here to the front and lift this section up. What we can then proceed to do is rotate the eyeballs around so that we are left with the orange irises. If you are like me and have decided to remove the faceplate, we can take any of our faces and just snap that in there nice and securely. And with all that being said, here we have Tigertron fully transformed up into what is, in my opinion, his really awesome looking robot mode. And so after a transformation which in my opinion is a lot more straightforward than initially presented, I believe that this is where Takara Tomi's work truly does shine. Tigertron here looks as if though he has just jumped straight out of that Beast Wars animated series and into my review station. He looks absolutely incredible. Tigertron was a figure that I knew I had to add to my collection, as he was actually one of the standout characters for me on the show. I really did love Tigertron in the show, and I'm a huge fan of his design as well. Whilst it is very similar to that of Cheetor, I just much prefer the Tiger mode than as opposed to the Cheetah mode, and I think that Tigertron's colours here look incredible. You can see that as we take a look at him from the back. Of course, there is some discrepancies when comparing this figure to the actual animation model. However, in my opinion, I believe that they've got it almost absolutely perfect. You can see that we do have the tiger legs here, which wrap nicely on the back there. We do have some panels here on the arms, which is indeed accurate to the show, and I love how they've utilised some of the tiger components in order to maximise the anatomy here of the back of his legs. I really do think that this presents for an incredibly muscular appearance, and in all, a fantastic looking figure. So without further ado, let's bring him in for a closer look. And so now, starting off here by taking a look at Tigertron's head sculpt, I believe that they have done an absolute terrific job in the sculpt work as well as the paint applications. You can see that for the main head crest, it has been completely painted in this amazing glossy white. We do have the maximal symbol there, as well as some nice tiger stripes here on the side of the helmet. Taking a look here at one of the face plates, I think the sculpt work as well as the metallic green looks terrific, and you can also see the transparent red plastic. You can see that they've also painted on some very small whiskers in order to add for that extra layer of accuracy to the show. As we take a look here at where the shoulder discs would be, these have too been painted in a really nice looking white, and all throughout the figure as well, you can see that metallic green here for the shoulders, as well as here for the hinge joint at the elbow, also for the crutch plate, as well as all the way down here for the legs, including where the knees are, the knee pads, as well as the shins. I think that, in my opinion, that looks terrific. We also do have that same glossy white here for the bicep, the forearms, as well as the hands, and also here for the thigh armor, and also some nice highlights here for where the knee sections would be. You can see the tiger stripes, in my opinion, have come out really nice and crisp, very similar similar to what we saw in Tiger mode, and in all I think that he looks absolutely terrific. The overall design here for the feet also I think looks fantastic, very show accurate in terms of its design, and I go back to my earlier statement in stating that I think that the way they've utilised some of the Tiger panels in order to create this almost muscular nature here to the legs really in my opinion does look fantastic. In terms of Tigertron's articulation, we do get a hinge joint here at the head looking up and down as well as swivel side to side. We do get a hinge joint here at the main shoulder due to transformation, however we also do get one here intended for the actual arm joint, so utilising both of those you are able to get him rising his arm all the way up to the top, which is splendid. They can move forwards that far, rotate here at the bicep, well past 90-degree range of motion here only on a single hinge, full 360 here at the wrist. We do get one independent articulated index finger, so this can move on its own hinge joint, whereas the other three are grouped and can hinge together. Turning here to the waist, we do get a full 360. However, if you actually take the waist joint and extend this, it does allow you to get a slight ab crunch. However, in my opinion, the range of motion out of that is minimal, so I don't tend to use that joint all that much. We do get ratchet joints here out to the sides, as well as ratchet joints backwards, not to a great degree due to the nature of the actual thigh, but the figure can also do the splits to a fantastic degree. I wish that there were ratchet joints actually going out as well, and for the knee joints. However, I'll touch more on that in just a second. Full 360 rotation here just below the knee due to transformation, as well as a full 360 rotation just above where the thigh begins. We do get a slightly past 90-degree range of motion here for the knee, and I really wish that we could have got a ratchet joint out of this, as although the knee joints aren't loose, when getting him into some more dynamic poses, it can cause some problems in terms of balancing. In terms of the feet, these two can rotate the full 360 as well as rock side to side to a fantastic degree. So in terms of articulation as well as detailing, I think that Tigertron here absolutely knocks it out of the park. Turning now to the integration of some of Tigertron's accessories, we will of course start off with the main accessory, that being Tigertron's blaster, and this does transform in a very similar way to that of Cheetor. So you're essentially just going to want to get your fingernail into this section and try your best to actually lift this up. I have found this to be rather difficult to do, but this entire cavity will lift up, which will then allow you to rotate the main nozzle of the blaster out. We can then snap that into place and come here and actually flip the handle out, and you can see that that too has also been painted in the really awesome metallic green that is present on the figure. And just taking a look here at the detailing of the blaster, you can see that this has been completely painted in white, and the sculpt work in my opinion has come out fantastically. We also do have the really gruesome looking gut detailing that we saw on Cheetor's weapon, and in all I think that it's a superb blaster and definitely matches his appearance on the show. In order to integrate it into Tigertron's hand, very similarly to some of the other MPs, we do have a slot there as well as a tab actually on the handle, so you're of course just going to want to align that up and snap that into place. And there we have Tigertron with what is dubbed as his Tiger Shot looking blaster. In my opinion, looking splendid and really as if though he has just jumped straight from the Beast Wars animation into my review station. We can of course bring in the hacking device, and this can be pegged into a slot there on the side of Tigertron's head. So you're just going to want to rotate that section down, and you can see this huge peg that you're going to want to apply a reasonable amount of force with so that it can really snap in there, and you can see that that will go in there and look very natural. And just taking a look at how that looks there, very, very awesome. And you can see we've got this awesome, very elongated looking cable. I guess you could use this as a whip in order for Tigertron to smack Megatron into oblivion. And once again, the detailing on that is terrific. You can have him holding this as well if you want. I'll very quickly show you how the alternate faceplate does look on him. So bringing in his head sculpt for when he is using the hacking device, we have the eyes which have gone blue. And I think that that looks really, really awesome. Very authentic to what we saw on the show, and in my opinion is such a nice attention to detail. We can also bring in the missile pods, and I'll very quickly show you how you can actually tab those on. So we can see that we do have a slot here. This is going to sit over this tab. Now I would highly recommend that you take precision and time whilst doing this, as there have been reports of this piece here snapping or damage to the actual peg itself. I personally have found no issues with this whatsoever. However, it may be a tolerance may vary depending on your own copy. So once again, just take your time with this piece. You're just going to want to cap it here over the top and just apply a very slight reasonable amount of force, so then that will snap nice and securely into place. And there we have Tigertron with the missile pods added onto his arms, and I think that they look really, really awesome and very authentic also to how we saw in the show. I'll very quickly swap out some of the faceplates just so that you can see an alternate look for the figure. Here for some size comparisons, we have our new MP Beast Wars Tigertron compared next to that of the MP Beast Wars Cheetor, and you can for sure see here the similarities in terms of their design to the animation. However, in my opinion, I just really do love the way that Tigertron looks. Initially, I believed that they were just going to basically take the same engineering from Cheetor and use it here for Tigertron, and whilst that may be the case in some aspects of the transformation, he for sure does have different steps to Cheetor in order to make his transformation distinctive, but just bringing them in here for a closer look so that you can better appreciate the differences in terms of the design. You can see that their blasters are incredibly similar in terms of their design. However, in terms of paint application, I believe that the paint apps that we do get on the Tigertron blaster look a little bit better, although I do really love the gold that we got on Cheetor. And just taking a look here at the back, you can see that Cheetor's legs do fold up a little bit more coherently with the rest of the sculpt, whereas with Tigertron, due to him having this tail section, they do slightly protrude from the main body. However, in my opinion, it doesn't look all that bad whatsoever. And here from a back perspective, you can see how they both look. Very, very awesome looking figures, and Tigertron is for sure a character in which I'm glad to add to the display. Here for a Maximal and Predacon MP size comparison, we have Tigertron compared next to the Holy Grail MP Megatron, and I think that both of these figures here look fantastic, and this is for sure the scale that we did see within the Beast Wars series, bringing Black Arachnia into the equation and setting Megatron here off to the side. You can see that here also, I believe that MP Black Arachnia does scale rather nicely here with Tigertron. She was more in scale with that of Cheetor in the show than as opposed here to Tigertron. So for sure, I do believe that they have got the scaling almost perfect here for the MP Beast Wars figures. And so, some final thoughts here for our MP-50 Tigertron. I really do love this latest release by Tigertron. They are knocking it out the park in terms of not only their most recent MP figures, but in terms of their Beast Wars figures. I really do believe that they are some of the highlights out of the MP series as a whole, and Tigertron here is no exception. In terms of his Tiger mode, whilst there may be some discrepancies in terms of his hind legs, that is to be expected with a figure that is supposed to transform from an animal into a robot. I believe that they have tried their utmost best in order to give us the accuracy as seen on the show, and for the most part I'd say that 85% of him looks fantastic in Tiger mode. The detailing as well as the paint applications for the actual stripes I think are fantastic. I really do like the overall proportions to that of a real life tiger. He really does look very authentic to that of the show, and I love how you can actually move the eyes around as well and swap them from green to red in order to match either his tiger appearance or of course his robot mode appearance. As we turn to transformation, as stated, it is nowhere near as complex as I initially suspected. Of course there are some obvious similarities between both Tigertron and Cheetor, as they both share very similar character model designs. However, that for me is not a drawback whatsoever, and there is enough new in terms of the conversion here in order for Tigertron's conversion to definitely feel distinctive. And when we get into robot mode, this is for sure where I believe this figure truly shines, and in my opinion this is really the mode that I care about the most, as I always display my figures in robot mode, and really Tigertron here looks as if though he has just jumped straight out of the Beast Wars series. I love the way the figure looks, down from the sculpt work to the overall proportions here of the legs as well as for the rest of the robot mode. The accessories I believe are tremendous. I was not expecting to get that many alternate faceplates with this release, so was thrilled upon opening this figure up to see what awaited me in the package. The puzzle Megatron head I think is a really awesome inclusion. Whilst it is not as complex in terms of the actual moving parts as I would have liked, I for sure still think that it's a really nice inclusion, and the fact that we can move some of the components to the head around for sure creates for a very interesting display, and is a fantastic accessory to actually display Tigertron with when you have the hacking device actually pegged into the head, as well as the hacking alternate head sculpt. I love the missile pods also, and in terms of articulation, it's pretty much flawless. The only areas of which I have a criticism lay in the actual ab crunch, as well as the lack of a ratchet joint here for the knees. But in all, I for sure think that this figure is more than good. So in terms of a rating out of 10, I'm going to give Tigertron a 9 out of 10. For sure, a fantastic MP figure, and certainly lives up to the hype and expectation that has been building around him ever since his official announcement. So I really do hope that you enjoyed my rather in-depth review here for Tigertron. I would be really eager to know down in the comment section below on what you think of both the figure as well as the review, and whether or not Tigertron here is a figure that you'll be adding to your collection. I thank you all for watching my review, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.